There we go. Delete chat. Boom. All right, cool. I don't like those Facebook Messenger chats. They suck. TNS. Oh yeah, cool, David. That's fantastic. You're looking forward to getting a recommendation on ultrasound. TNS? You mean VNS? I think vagus nerve stimulation. So that's good. Good. Awesome. So we're also now live on YouTube. So cool. Before we get started, we're going to do our simultaneous squeeze, which is a process where we do a Valsalva squeeze together. Yes, awesome, David. We're going to do a Valsalva squeeze together, which is taking a big deep breath in, holding it in, retaining that breath as we try to exhale and squeeze it out. And that's going to give us a really good feeling, a really good form of vagus nerve activation simply through breath alone. So you guys aren't out there trying to, scramble to find some kind of what's the device I need to get to stimulate my vagus nerve? You can do it completely with your own breath. So let's do that now. Big deep breath in, sip of air at the very top. You'll watch me do it and you'll do it with me. And then you'll hold it and you'll squeeze it for 5 seconds. And then you'll exhale slowly, okay? So big deep breath in, 3, 2, 1, go. Sip of air, hold and squeeze. And slowly exhale. Very good. Now you should feel kind of a nice cool sensation when you do that. It's a really good feeling. So good. So good. So happy to make some awesome recommendations for VNS and all that fun stuff today. We've got actually a couple of options for you as well. But today, the main subject of today's video is cardiac health. Did you know that your vagus nerve does regulate your heart rate? So your vagus nerve controls your heart rate in a lot of ways. It will control your heart rate to bring your heart rate down. And if your vagus nerve isn't working, then you're typically going to experience tachycardia, which means your heart rate is going to be fast. If your vagus nerve is working too well, then you're going to experience bradycardia, which means your heart rate is going to slow down significantly. We don't want either. We don't want tachycardia, which is too high of a heart rate, which means there's no vagus nerve innervation or vagus nerve signaling to your heart to slow it down. And we don't want too much vagal nerve tone in order... Oh, I sound weird like an echo. My door might be open. I'm not sure. Hold on. I think it's my door. I hope I'm not. I hope I don't. Let me check my sound. Thanks for the feedback. My sound is a little bit high. Let's see. Testing. 1, 2, 3. That should be good. Well, we'll see. There is a little bit of an echo in here, I think. But anyway, so you don't want to have too much. Yeah, there's definitely an echo in here. Thank you for that. Yeah, and anytime something doesn't sound right or look right, please let me know. That does help a lot. So tachycardia, too high heart rate, means low vagal nerve activity, and bradycardia, meaning your heart rate is too slow, means there's too much vagal nerve activity in the moment. So that's kind of cardiac health. But generally speaking, when we're talking about cardiac health from a general day-to-day perspective, you really can't just sit around all day and expect your heart to be healthy. So we need to have some strategies for you to get your heart rate up in the daytime and train your heart rate through zone training, which is called zone training, zones 1 through 5. Zone training is something that you do to put your heart rate into a certain levels, zones, meaning we all know like 100 beats per minute if you're sitting is pretty fast, but if you're walking outside, 100 beats per minute might be pretty standard. If you're fast walking outside, your heart rate might be at zone 2. If you're running really fast, if you're pushing yourself to your limit, your heart rate might be in zone 3, 4, or 5. So we talk about cardiac heart training. Some of the best stuff that I've learned is really about zone training, and this is the kind of stuff that they use to train athletes. So zone training, which I put in here in the chat, is really, really crucial. How you can do zone training is by, there's a specific device, let me get it here on Amazon, that measures your heart rate in real time and shows you on your wrist what your heart rate zone is. There's also apps on the iPhone called Zone Training, or apps on the Apple Watch that can show you zone training. Let's see, zone training HRV 24. Let's see, I do have a device that I, Kuspo Shashi. Here we go. All right, so there is a device, I'm gonna send it here in the chat, that does enable you to do zone-based training with your own device. And it's also pretty cheap, and it integrates with lots of different devices and apps, and it also does heart rate variability training. So this device right here, this is called the Shashi Rhythm, which will give you the ability to connect to your Peloton, to a Strava, to different kinds of apps that can show you your zone and how much you're training. Also, there is another device which does, zone training as well, called a Kuspo. Let's see, heart rate zone. Yeah, Kuspo. I'll put this here in the chat as well. This is a really good product. So in order to do zone training, you do need to have some kind of an app that can measure your heart rate. That's really important. And in measuring your heart rate, you're going to be looking at what zone you're in. Basically speaking, when we're talking about good training, you want to be training your heart rate in zone 2 most of the time. 80% of your cardiac output should be in zone 2, which means you should be doing probably 2 to 3 hours of zone training per week, and only about 20 to 30 minutes of zone 4 and 5 per week. So I have some pictures here I'm going to get here in the chat, which can be very helpful, I think. Let's see, here we go. Okay, copy image address, put that in the chat. So yeah, zone training is a specific way of basically training your heart rate to function better. And you want to be doing light zone 2 training for about, in a day, probably 30 to 45 minutes per day in zone 2, which means that increases your aerobic endurance, fat metabolism, strengthens your body to tolerate higher intensities. And then you want to be doing like 2 to 5 minutes of hard aerobic activity in a day. So that means you want to bring up your heart rate to zone 4 or 5 for just a little bit. You only want to be doing like maximum zone 5, 10 seconds to 3 minutes max. It just tones your neuromuscular system. It's really good for you. It increases your VO2 max level. But when we're talking about cardiac training, zone training is the best way to do it. I think there's a book actually, which is, let me just get this here. Aerobic and zone 2 training. Here we go. Yeah, so there's a good resource, Peter Attia. He talks about zone training in zones 1 and zones 5. And you definitely want to be considering training your heart from this zone perspective. And you want to absolutely have some kind of a device that can measure this for you. There are some products called the Whoop band. The Whoop is another good zone training device, potentially. And Peloton makes a good arm-based zone training tracker. Okay. So Whoop is a good brand that has good heart rate variability training stuff. And then Peloton, the guys who make the bicycles, they have a really good app, which is a subscription app, which will teach you how to get into zones 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 using on-screen instructions. So that can be really, really helpful. That can be really informative and really good. So definitely highly recommend something like that. So let's see. Just checking some notifications here. If there's any questions you guys have about any of this stuff, feel free to ask. But I think we're going to keep today's video, relatively short. I don't think we have to go exhaustive into this. But the one device that I wanted to share was the Peloton HR monitor, which is the one that I've used before, which actually was really good. Here it is. Yeah. So one of the best ones that I've found for doing this in real time while training on a bike or running is the Peloton. And this actually shows you on your arm what zone you're in. So it has 5 lights and it will light up depending on which zone you're in, which zone you're training. And it does connect to the app. It is a subscription, but it's only like $12.99 per month. And I think it's really good. I think that's one of the best. I actually have 2 back here that I use for training. So I keep one. I got a discount on it at like a Sierra or something like that a while ago. And so I was able to get these Peloton heart rate band things for like half the price. So that one is amazing. It's a really good piece of product, really, really high quality. So the Peloton one is the best. But basically, yeah, if you want good heart strength past your 50s, you need to be training in zones 2 and 5 consistently throughout the week. You know, having a sedentary lifestyle is just not optimal. It's going to end up killing you a lot faster than if you're moving. So however you can find a way to get outside, get moving, walking, riding a treadmill, riding a bike, doing anything that's physical in terms of that type of thing, anything that brings your heart rate up is really good. There really aren't any substitutes for having good heart rate variability or heart rate tracking devices. So it's probably really crucial that you do take some time to invest in something that can measure your heart rate. That's not just a step meter. You know, yes, like getting 5,000 steps in a day is good, but getting your heart rate up to 110 beats per minute and doing that for 20, 30 minutes a day is worlds apart from just getting in 50 or 5,000 steps. So that's really the key thing here is you're really understanding longevity and living a long life really depends on zones 2 and 5 and training those specifically. As Peter Attia would say, by training zone 2 and 5, we're really teeing ourselves up metabolically and also structurally to do these things. So let's see. Just trying to see if there's anything I could give specifically. You know, finding your own zone is up to you. It's like using a recumbent bike, using a treadmill, having some kind of a device like that at home that you're using consistently, I think is really, really important. So you should do about 3 to 5 bouts of strength training, 4 bouts of zone 2, and 2 bouts of zone 5 in a week. So that means 4 times per week, you should go for a brisk walk that gets your heart rate up to about 110 to 120 beats per minute consistently. That's 4 times a week. And then 2 times a week, you should go on some kind of a light jog or a little bit of a run that gets your zone up to zone 5. Or doing high intensity interval training, something that gets your heart rate up pretty high. That could be like 160, 170 beats per minute. For me, zone 5 is like 180. So if I can get my heart rate up to 180, 190, then I'm in zone 5. That kind of stuff is really, really good. But yeah, you know, nothing too crazy. Stability says sprinkled into pretty much every day with maybe one of a longer, more dedicated 60-minute session around stability. Stability might be like balancing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, anyway. But I'll post these here in the chat again, just one more last time. Boom. Zone 5 training. What if you have adrenal insufficiency? If it's difficult to do that, I mean, that's where I would probably say neck strengthening is going to be your best option, because neck strengthening is still something that is an important muscle group that doesn't require a lot of output of energy in the short term. Adrenal insufficiency, you know, yeah, I mean, yes, certainly these are challenges. I'm not a specific adrenal doctor, right? So I'm not the best person to ask, but I don't even think a doctor is the best person to ask. They're just going to help, you know, keep you alive, prevent you from dying. But for adrenal insufficiency, one thing you can do is, I have one option, which is a weight vest. These are really good. Weight vest. So this is a little hack that I came up with. What you do is you wear about a 15 to 20 pound weighted vest and you walk around with it. So you get one of these. I bought one for like $100 locally. It can go variably from like 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 40 pounds of weight. And I loaded it up to like what feels metabolically challenging for me. And then I go for like a 20-minute walk. And just by walking with the added weight on my body brings my zone up into zone 2. So I'm not having to run or anything like that. So, having some kind of a weighted vest is a good option for being able to just straight up walk around and get mobility, get some of this zone-like training. So I think a weighted vest could be a good option for most people. Here's another option too, which is combination of a vest and weights on the legs. Here's another good option. That's a great tip. Good. So that's another option here. That's another good product I've seen a lot of. The one that I just posted, which is, what is that called? Yeah, the Pace Earth weighted vest with ankle wrist weights. So trying to distribute the weight from your shoulders to your wrists to your ankles and adding like 2 pounds per joint and 5 pounds to your chest then enables you to take a normal walk, which could be just kind of boring zone 1, and turns it into zone 2 training. And so again, if you want to get up to zone 2 consistently, that's a really good way to do it. Another good way to get up to zone 5 would be with a speed rope. Speed rope, which is jump rope basically. So with a jump rope, and you're doing jump roping in the back of your house, can be a great option to get you up to zone 5 pretty easily. And you only need to do a fast spurt of zone 5 training for between 10 to 3 minutes. So if you could do jump roping for 60 seconds, just do jump roping as fast as you can, bring your heart rate up that high, and then take a solid break, you've gotten the zone 5 training that you need. And you need to do zone training 2 times a week. So that means you need to bring your heart rate up to zone 5 2 times a week to maintain good cardiac health. That's it, right? That's pretty easy. Can you do jump roping twice for about a minute to bring your heart rate up 2 times a week? I think you can. And could you potentially do some weighted vest stuff and go for a normal walk, just a standard walk? You don't even have to wear it on the top of your stuff. You could wear it outside. So that's a really good option for people, for sure. So in terms of, again, hitting the standard zone training stuff that you need to, it's really important that you optimize for getting your heart rate up. But for the rest of the day, it's totally okay to work a normal job, to sit around, to lounge about. You don't have to be training your heart all the time, but you should also be doing some weight training, basically, a little bit here and there. So good. So yeah, that's it. That's kind of the standard stuff. I wanted to go back up to David, and I'll just do a quick review. If you look up through the comments of this video, first we shared, how do you track your heart rate to know if you're in tachycardia, which is too high of a heart rate, or bradycardia, which is too slow of a heart rate. If you're in tachycardia, it means your vagus nerve is not functioning properly. If you're in bradycardia, your vagus nerve is way too active. That's not good either. You need to be able to measure this stuff. The first one that I shared here, called the Shashi Rhythm 24, is a fitness armband, which you can take out, connect to an app on your phone, to the Strava app, to the Peloton app, and it will tell you what your heart rate is in real time. And then you can see what zone you're in. There's also a couple of other options. There's the Cuspo, there's the Peloton's brand, but these are heart rate monitoring devices that you can use while you're in exercise. Then I shared some ways to, to read more about this zone training for your heart. You need to be training zone 2 and zone 5 in the week. Then some of the things you can do is wear a weighted vest while doing a normal walk. That can make a normal walk into a zone 2 training session. So you just need to wear about 5 to 10 to 15 pounds of weight during a 10 to 15 minute walk, and now you've trained in zone 2. So that's something that I personally do. I like to do that. I wear 20 pounds and I walk for 20 minutes, and I've gotten a full-on zone 2 training session in under the belt for that week in just one 20-minute session. So that's actually a pretty good option. And I also like to do the Hour of Power audio during those walks. So it's kind of like an uplifting walk for me. It's pretty fun. So cool. So that's it. Then you want to do high intensity interval training. A speed rope is a good option. Jump rope is a good option. If you can't do a jump rope, you can also do battle rope, which is, let's see, I've got that here. Battle rope. Battle ropes are those ones where, you do this kind of thing, where you do that motion. I can get a good one for you here in the chat. What's a good option? Battle ropes give you the ability to increase your heart rate pretty quickly with battle ropes. So there's speed ropes, which is jump rope, and battle ropes, which are the ropes that you move like this with your hands. You've seen them all at the gym, I'm sure. Battle ropes. Yes for All is a good brand to do it with. So there's that. But anyway, lastly, David, you had asked about a Vegas ultrasound. Yes, I'll put some links here, vegashub.com/ultrasound. So that's some information on ultrasound, vegashub.com/ phase 1. So that's the phase 1, and there's vegashub.com/phase 3 join. So if you want to join our phase 1 or phase 3 program and get access to ultrasound, we have options for you in both levels. You'd probably do pretty well with the phase 3, given that would be a custom-made in-ear ultrasound stimulator for your ear. But if you want to go for phase 1, phase 1's a fantastic program. That's going to get you ultrasound sent to you for less of a price than some of the phase 3 type of options too. So definitely some things to consider. But anyway, that'll be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Super good to educate y'all on heart health.